Hi guys, and welcome to the show. Today we're going to be talking about the media and its responsibilities, it's how it operates, it's how people engage with media today, especially old media versus new media. And what's really the kickstart to this is a huge subject that's in the zeitgeist right now, which is one close to our heart, and we're going to talk about in a minute. I've been a media professional for almost 15 years, so I have a little bit of knowledge about what it's like in the kitchen of broadcast media. Jay, when I say media, what do you think?
When I think about media, I think stories that they like to pull it apart and tell lies, and it's not always straightforward like that, and they don't always. The media take things out of proportion, and you don't really know what's the truth to what's not.
Yeah, I mean, certainly to be balanced and fair, you may have a bit of a stronger view on media from someone who's not worked in it. Doesn't mean your opinion is less valid. So we're going to be, at least you've got a perspective in this video of someone who's worked in media as a professional and someone who represents the majority of us, which is Joe Public. Media is very powerful. I've been in a newsroom situation where a breaking story has just broke, and how everyone has very strong opinions, and the job of a broadcaster is to consume the information, to as a journalist to maybe investigate and find out all the facts, package it together in a simple way possible to then distribute it to a public who may not be a specialist in the field, who may not have all the knowledge, but to have enough information to be informed and to have an opinion. What the media is not supposed to do is to report opinion and prejudice as facts, which we see time and time again, especially on a controversial topic. So I think one of the ways we can really make this subject of media and how, I mean, even YouTube, anyone says something on social media, even on a platform like this, and I'll say this disclaimer, don't take what we say as fact. We give you permission to, and I'm sure you won't anyway, but to say, I don't believe in that, I don't agree with that, fine. That's the beauty of the exchange. But if someone posts something on Facebook, then it must be true. It's the gospel, it's straight out of the horse's mouth. Someone posts something on Facebook, and it's true. Except for the fact that no one really does their research to find out the validity of such a claim. Nobody really educates themselves beyond that 2-minute meme. And then in the worst case scenario, somebody's life is ruined because people weren't fact checking and they believed there was smoke where there was fire. So, I mean, what's the perfect example of what's out there in the news today that's being completely taken out of proportion?
I would say at the moment it's the Michael Jackson case. At the moment it's been taken out of proportion. I'm not going to call any names or anything like that, but it's something that's gone on for years, and then to come back to but I mean he's not here to defend himself, and I just think it's a shame that things have just been taken out of proportion, and people just straight away see something and think, oh, I believe that. Oh, it's true, it's definitely true, but there's actually no evidence surrounding this latest documentary, just a documentary.
But of course Michael Jackson was a paedophile, right? Yeah. Everybody knows it. Everybody from all corners of the world know that he was a paedophile and have proof and evidence. You know, that's what everyone knows, right?
Yeah.
I'm being facetious. We do not in any way, shape or form believe that Michael Jackson was a paedophile. We believe it was a crock of lies back then, and it's still a crock of lies now. But we don't expect everybody to share that opinion. We looked through court files and documents years ago. I mean, I still am a huge Michael Jackson fan, and you might be saying, well, that makes you biased. That makes us biased. The fact that we have a picture of the Jacksons behind on our mantelpiece, of course we're biased. Let me tell you this. You will find out about myself and my wife is that we're pastors, we're ministers. We have counselled and worked with people who've gone through the pain of childhood abuse. We in no way, shape or form ever condone or would ever support a known paedophile, except for if we were trying to rehabilitate or anything like that. But we are totally we find it above, we vehemently find such practices abhorrent, evil, and we have people close to us who've gone through that horror. So I want to make that very, very crystal clear. However, we also know people who've experienced miscarriages of justice, particularly from minority backgrounds, where people have a lot of prejudice and suppositions that are even more important to the system than facts. So we want to just give an opinion on the whole circus that's surrounding this case. I mean, let me ask you a quick question, Jahlene. You know, when you see late night hosts, when you see stuff on daytime TV and read stuff in the papers that constantly drag up unfounded, nasty rumours about Michael Jackson, what's your reaction as someone who's, someone in the public and a fan?
I think I'm a big fan of Michael Jackson, and I think when I see stories like that, it makes me really sad. It makes me feel like, oh my goodness, it's like I think it's just not fair, because if there's no concrete evidence on things that have been written, and things been taken, so many things are always taken out of proportion with the media. So you don't even know. I'm thinking, okay, should I believe it? Should I not? Because I used to, if I saw something in the paper when I was younger, I used to believe it's true. Oh yeah, that's true. It's gospel. It's totally true. But then I sort of learnt how they work, and they play mind tricks on people, and not everything that's written in the newspaper or on social media is actually true. But people nowadays are so gullible; they just believe anything. And that's part of my opinion.
Breaking news, Father Christmas breaks into houses. And especially when you get certain newspapers, I won't even dignify them by mentioning them. Something happened in the week that I watched a very popular daytime, but early morning program that broadcast in front of millions, and a very popular host, where their entertainment correspondent, live on air, labelled Michael Jackson a paedophile. He went on this epic rant. Again, I'm cool with people having an opinion, but as a media professional, I'm used to the idea of there being a balance. That if you put a story forward, you must have balanced the scale of opinion and put as much information out there for the public to decide. It's not your job as a media professional and journalist, if you work for that newspaper, I don't know if I can even call you a journalist, to label a dead man something vile and disgusting, especially when the very claims in this new documentary, in case you don't know, there's a new documentary, Leaving Neverland, that's two former friends of Jackson who stood on trial in 2005, not stood on trial, they stood on the witness stand in the defense team on oath. They said nothing ever happened between them and Jackson. For years later, one of the individuals was contributed to a book giving a glowing tribute to Jackson, was on dance tributes with his sister Janet, tried to direct a big tribute show. And here's the thing, he claims as an adult, and he was an adult when he took the stand in his 20s, he still says as an adult that he didn't have amnesia, he just suddenly thinks it was wrong what happened to him. So essentially, he either lied on oath on the witness stand, or he lies now. Either way, at some point, he's been a liar. The same with the accomplice. And for me, you might say, well, I'm being very biased, but I'm just pointing out a fact that the FBI, for example, covered the Jackson case for years. There was all sorts of child protection services, a very rigorous police department chasing him, raiding his house. They found nothing. And of course, he was exonerated on 10 counts in a court of law in 2005. Yet people will still have you believe, by watching the media, by watching television, reading the newspapers, radio, all sorts of media outlets, that Michael Jackson is the equivalent of a Sir Jimmy Savile, a guy who molested and raped children in hospitals, who has a whole trail of hundreds of children that he abused. Where in the Jackson case, you victims who claimed that nothing happened for years until suddenly they decided to take a legal court case to the Jackson estate asking for 1 point something billion. I don't know. I mean, maybe that would make you remember everything. That sort of money.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just outrageous how, you know, this case has come through now with this documentary coming out, because these men did swore that this is the truth, and now they've come out and lied, and years later this has happened. So I mean, Tony, I want to ask you a question. How do you think this is going to pan out? What do you think is going to happen from here?
Well, I think that, again, I don't have any problem, Jay, with people. Well, I don't have a problem, but people are right to their opinion. If people, even in media professionals, have opinions. There was a famous, well, not famous, but a well-known criminal investigative journalist in America called Aphrodite Jones. She believed for years that Jackson was a pedophile, and she reported, and she was at one of the many media press who were outside the court case the whole time in 2005 for Jackson's trial. And she went full circle. She went 360. She went from believing, of course, he's guilty. This guy's, you know, as guilty as sin. Everyone knows it. To actually like, OMG, all the evidence that was coming out that was not reported by the press. By the way, they had access to the courtroom, but didn't prove that this whole case was Mickey Mouse. It was Disneyland. It was a circus, and people were not reporting the facts, and that Jackson, in every single way, going through the rigmarole of the case, and she's a criminal investigator. She's like well known and award winning. She was like, at the end of the day, she was like, this guy's an innocent man. Because then she went back and looked over the cases like the 93 situation, and people say this all the time. Again, we are defending a little bit, but sue us. In the 1993 or to 95 case with of Jackson's with the Chandler case, the father went to sue Jackson for millions, and went for a push for a civil trial, which meant that then it would be the criminal trial. Jackson was trying to get the criminal trial first so he could exonerate himself and, you know, forward. But if the civil trial was for negligence, it wasn't even that did he do anything to a child, it was for the potential, was he negligent, blah, blah, blah. And if he'd lost that, then he would have probably not been able to win the I'm not a lawyer, but the criminal trial. And it was the insurers of Jackson, because he was doing this huge Pepsi tour that was worth millions and millions and millions. And they stepped in, Pepsi, from what I've read, and were like, there was a pressure to, again, alleged, we don't want to get sued, but this is stuff that's out there in the zeitgeist. You can just go dig and read it. I'm just regurgitating. That they had so much money that they would have lost that they pushed for a settlement, because then they could just move on and move things forward. And that was a stain on Jackson's life. So that's a roundabout way of answering. That's a bit of context, a round way of answering the question. That I think that if the good thing that's come out about this documentary, if anything, is that Michael's nephew, Taj, of 3T, is going to come out with his documentary, a rebuttal with all the information that is readily available, that if people just looked, and in defence of his uncle. And hopefully that will shed the light on the enormous amount of evidence from friends, family, people that worked for him for decades, to show that even evidence of these now accusers, where they were fully in the defence camp, just exposing the truth out there. 'Cause I think not people just believe the conjecture of the media, and you know, anyone can make a movie with the right music that makes everyone feel sinister, ominous music, you know, lighting, all the the mise en scène, as they say in the show, in showbiz, to create an impression of something being true and being sinister. You know, it's Hollywood. Yeah. But my question is, like, where's the documentary for Corey Feldman? For years, he has been trying to tell anybody who'd listen how he was molested repeatedly by high-powered people in Hollywood, executives, all that like. His friend Corey Haim, he believes part of his downward spiral was due to repeated molestation that they both endured as children. And he said on record, and this is very important, that I know those guys. Jackson weren't one of those guys. He was a friend of mine. And not being funny, if someone's been molested repeatedly by big, powerful men in an industry, You couldn't get someone who's more famous and notorious and potentially powerful than someone like Michael Jackson. You know, for him even to be saying now that the guy was a good man, it was innocent, nothing to do with that type of behaviour. You have to scratch your head, you know, and be like, well, why don't we believe him? Why? And here's the thing: the dangerous thing is that and I know I'm going to take out my race card for those of you who are automatically going to say that and think that, yeah, I've taken it out, you know, race card away, but truth is truth. In parts of the world like the United States and stuff, and we love America, but we're just talking about history. There's a whole there's a huge history of African American men who have fallen foul of the criminal justice system. Massive miscarriages of justice. You know, if I was dating a white woman in America back in the day, and we got caught, which was illegal in some states, all the lady would have to say is that I raped her and I get the death penalty. You know, and if you didn't, she'd be pressured to say that because obviously she can live her life as normal, where I've broken the, you know, I need to be punished. There are many examples of miscarriages of justice to African Americans, and especially those who grew to become very powerful. We think of James Brown in the 60s, who got imprisoned for tax purposes, things that would chicken scratch for people today in powerful positions, because he was talking about I'm black and I'm proud, and there was a fear of black messiah. So Michael's been talking about record labels that I won't mention for fear of the wrath of these people, and the industry and black artists being ripped off throughout the history of popular music and entertainment. And he was very vocal, you know, and for those who say, oh, he wasn't a black man, well, the autopsy revealed, as he always stated, that he had vitiligo. And I think how convenient for a man who had such porcelain colour skin, but always supported black causes, for people to say, oh, well, they can dismiss him because he's a white man, he doesn't want to be black anyway. Don't matter if he's black or white, you know. So, but Jay, what are some of the damage you think that can happen when the media pushes their opinion over facts of any case? I mean, even forget the Jackson situation, but just any situation where they can put their power behind putting information out there.
I think that the media can really like shatter people's lives, to be honest. I'm trying not to be so extreme, but yeah, I think they can shatter people's lives. And like obviously the media like to build people up, but when but at the other end of the spectrum, they really like to when they really pull people down, they really do go for them, and they go for them like
kick you in the head,
like pretty much like bang 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 bang. But it's like they either 1 minute they love you, 1 minute they hate you, and I think that's the pain of being in having a big profile, everyone knowing you, is that also you're doing it. It's happening in front of the whole world, and people have their different opinions about you. There's so much there's Twitter, there's all these outlets now, and everyone will just go in hard. And that's the only downside to having so much social media around, is that people will just go in, and then obviously people's opinions. So, but it's not. It can't be easy just to be going through that, because I just can't imagine me going through all that stuff, because it's crazy.
Well, that's the danger now, because before you only had to worry about mainstream media, and you had in the UK we have Ofcom that regulates what can and can't be said, that facilitates people's complaints, broadcasting code, etc.
It's something, even an issue like with Kevin Hart. You know, he was supposed to be. He said he had a love for years to wanting to present on the Oscars, and because of something he said like years ago, that got dug up, and now he's out. Obviously, he decided to come out, to back down, not doing it. But it's like, it's such a shame, because you know, I feel that society can be so like hold things against people. Obviously, people have said things on Twitter or whatever. You might have said things without even thinking. That's why you should always think before you type. But he said stuff that probably people don't like, and it came back to bite him. And it's sad, because it's something he really was a passion of his.
And to be fair, to give balance, what he said, if I was in the community of which he spoke, I would be upset. Even if it were, you know, there was an element of when a comedian says something, how much is role play, how much is them sending up themselves. But you know, I don't necessarily have a problem with people being upset it's what you do with that upset. Say, I love Ricky Gervais as a comedian. I think he's hilarious. You know, we're Christians, so he always bashes religious people, and he has no love for religion, and he's always mocking. But I don't not find him funny because he thinks what I believe fundamentally is nonsense. I'd love to have a drink with him, you know, a beer, you know, unique campus, staying up late talking philosophy and all things, life, the universe and everything, you know, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But I don't dislike him, or I can't listen to him because he said some things against my belief system. I'm like, you know, you can edit, you can tune out. And I think with the Kevin Hart situation, it wasn't that he stood by those words today. It was things that he'd said before in the past, years ago, and he apologized for those things. Yet somehow, because someone can re-air it, you have to go through a tour of contrition over and over again. And I'm like, no, I believe that it's important that we make a stand, that we own what we say, we stand by things, and if we change and we have a change of opinion, I do believe in the power of apologies. But when they're genuine and not when they're pressured, and when it comes to a point where it's something you've already dealt with, you've moved on. And the agenda of leaking things, for me, it's more that people probably didn't want him to do the show than it was that they and they were looking for that as a way, or they hadn't forgiven or let go of that issue to try and frame him in a certain type of way. And that's the danger, I think, with social media, because there's no regulation on it. Anyone can say anything. And if it happens to be true, so be it. But majority of the time, it's just people's opinion. Hey guys, thank you for watching the video. We had fun making it. Hope you had enjoyed yourself watching it. Please, for more information, subscribe below for more alerts of all the stuff we're doing, all the good stuff like this. And we will see you next time.